something, ask her questions, give her shit. She's okay with it. Yeah, you do. You'll love her as much as I do. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself because she's amazing. I did my little bit for her, and I'm gonna be over at my laptop doing what I do best. So if you guys need anything, welcome Yvonne.
My name is Yvonne Mason, and y'all guess how old I am?
12.
God love you.
29 and still holding.
No.
5? 39?
I am 68 years old.
Young, 68 years young.
I started writing when I was 5 years old. I wrote my first book from the early 1970s till 2006. I got more rejection letters than Carter's got peanuts. Could wallpaper my house. And this is what I did. I moved to Florida. I married the absolute love of my life. And I published my first book. I did it my way. I did not allow anyone to tell me I could not. And you know why? Because when I die, I do not want to say, I should have, I would have, and I could have. I'm too old, I'm too stupid, I'm not bright enough, nobody will read it. I didn't care if nobody read it. It wasn't about whether or not anybody read it. It was about my passion. It was all about me. When I was 54 years old, I graduated from college. Hadn't been in school since 1969 when I graduated high school. Got a degree in criminal justice, and guess what I did?
Bounty hunter.
I'm a bounty hunter. My mother said, Yvonne, you could get killed. I've been in an abusive relationship for 18 years. Who cared? My daddy said, how can I help you? There is nothing on this earth that not a one of you in this room cannot do. There's only two things that you have to do. You have to learn to wait, and you have to learn to open doors. I waited, and waited, and waited, and waited.
Hallelujah.
But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It paid off. When I published my first book, I never looked back. I wrote another. And then I wrote another one. I now am the author of 17 books. I have been on television 4 times, ladies and gentlemen. 4 times I have been on television. 2 on the ID channel here in the States, 1 in England, and 1 in France. And do you know why? I never said no to an opportunity, and it didn't matter if it was signing books in a grammar school or reading to children in middle school. I never said no. If it meant that I had to travel halfway across the country to go to a book signing and maybe I didn't even make what I needed to make to cover my registration or my hotel, it didn't matter. You know why? Because I had these. And everybody I saw, I handed a card out and said, my name's Yvonne Mason. I am an author. I'm not a writer. I am an author. Well, I got this. Are you self-published? No, I am an indie author because I was one of the first indie authors. A group of us broke that ceiling back in 2006 and 2007. Used to, when you said, I publish my own work, they'd say, you're no good. You can't get published by the Big Six. Guess what? The Big Six is watching us now. Some of the main traditional authors are now going indie. You know why? Because we waited. We have control. We take opportunities. We make things that have seemed impossible possible. I have a saying, the impossible I can do right now, the improbable might take me a day or two longer. I did this. Yes, I had help along the way. But I waited. And I waited. I have written 3 true crimes. I have written 2 historical fictions. I have written comedy. I have written inspiration. I have written horror. I have met some of the most fantastic people in the world in my indie community. I have my own radio show. I am a national photographer for the National JCI Senate, the only non-senator to ever hold a national appointed position. I am an artist. I am known all over the world. Did I get in it to make a fortune? No, I did not. Because if I'd gotten in it to make a fortune, I would have kept my day job. Because I'm going to tell you, there is no millions in being an indie author. You might be on top of the mountain today and down in the cellar tomorrow. But if you quit, or if you don't wait, or if you don't take every open door, you failed. Because you did not try. To try is to have succeeded. To never have tried is to fail. I refuse to fail. When I wrote my first book, it's about my brother who's mentally challenged, and it's called Dreamcatcher. Failure was never an option. And as I'm researching this book and I'm talking to my mother and I'm figuring out about my brother who's 13 months younger than me, my mother said, Stanley, how do you feel about Yvonne writing your book and your name being out there? Because my mother was a very private person and my brother, wise beyond his years, turned to her and said, I'm glad. Because now the world knows how I feel. My brother learned to ride a bicycle before I did. I'm the oldest. Because I was afraid. My brother was never afraid to try anything. I was afraid. But when he said that, it made me realize that even if I have to wait, even if I have to put things on hold, even if I have to go around a mountain because I can't go through it or I can't go over it, I will do that thing. No matter what it takes. I wanted to be a bounty hunter ever since I was a little girl and watched Have Gun Will Travel and all the other bounty hunting westerns that were there back in the 50s and 60s. But in the 70s, you couldn't be on the police force if you were female unless you were in a secretarial position. So what did I do? In my 50s, I went to college and got my degree, and guess what I did? There is nothing you cannot do if you wait. How many of you in this room have a passion so great that you eat it, you sleep it, you walk it, you talk it, and it's all you think about? How many of you are putting that passion to work? How many of you know you were successful? I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that I learned from my little brother, because he was never supposed to work. He was never supposed to do anything, basically. But the one thing I learned about him was it's not how much money you make that makes you happy. It's how happy you are making that money. It's how happy you are doing what you love. And if it takes waiting, you wait. And any door that is even cracked, you go through it. And you don't make excuses. Well, I'm so tired. I have to work 60 hours a week. I have small children. My husband doesn't like me.
You just described my life.
It's a rainy afternoon in Georgia. I'll do it tomorrow. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? What is today? Today is your tomorrow. While you're waiting, plan. It took me 5 years. My husband was ill, and I knew I was going to lose him, and I knew there would come a time when I could not do events. 5 years out, I planned my radio show. Planned it, plotted it, knew what I wanted to do with it, how I wanted to do it, and who I wanted on it. I debuted that show thinking, well, if I wind up with 10,000 listeners, I'll be a happy camper. Jennifer can tell you, in 2 years, I had 250,000 listeners in over 200 countries. My show appears on Spreaker, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Blog Talk Radio. That's the mother where I do it. 250,000 listeners in 200 countries, and now I have gone even further, and I have other people taking nights to do their own shows. So the show is still going on under their show, so I'm branching out. You can do anything you want to do if you're willing to wait. How many of you have the patience of Job? Ah, no hands. 1, 2. That's what it takes in this business. And you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that when somebody writes a bad review, one of two things. A, they didn't read the work. Or B, they're jealous because they are frustrated because they have forgotten their own passion, or they're too afraid to step on the edge of that cliff. Don't take it personal. It's not personal. Yes, that's your baby. Yes, you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in it. But wait. Just wait. Because those same people that wrote you that bad review, if you go back and look, they never liked anything they read, watched, or saw. And most of them are trolls anyway. And if you wait, you will see that you're going to get more reviews that are on the good side or mediocre side as opposed to a bad review. And understand this, we all want everybody in God to love our work. Doesn't happen. Because we don't write for everybody in God. We write what's in here. There will be those that no matter what you write, whether it's a true crime, whether it's crime fiction, whether it's a thriller, whether it's a historical fiction, whether it's horror, whether it doesn't matter what you write, they're not going to like it. It's okay. Just wait. Just wait. Because there is someone out there that will like it. They can't wait to read your next book. I got people clamoring at me now. When are you going to write again? Because I haven't written since I lost my husband. He was my muse. But I'm willing to wait. And I'm willing to take the opportunities that come to me to create again. Because when I leave this world, I am not going to go quietly into that good night. I'm going kicking and screaming. Questions? Oh, come on now. Questions. Debate. I know y'all got questions. Yes, ma'am.
When's my appointment for your blog talk?
Get with me after.
Okay.
Because I am getting ready to start that radio show back up again. I am traveling a lot.
I was supposed to catch you after Vero Beach and I didn't get a chance to.
I know. You were.
Yeah.
For those of you who, yes, ma'am.
Why are you in Vero Beach?
I was doing I did what I'm doing here. I did a book signing and
The books at the Vero Beach bookstore?
no, I will not go to that bookstore. There's a story behind that.
We were in the mall.
When I published my first book, now that is an independent bookstore. I went to that bookstore, and because I am an independent author, they would not give me the time of day. I said, when I become famous, don't look for me because I will never come to your bookstore again, and I did not. I am the eldest of 5 children. I have been doing public speaking since I was 12, 13. Like I said, I've been writing since I was 5. I graduated in my 50s from college with a 3.50 GPA.
Good.
You're never too old. I believe that we are only successful in this life as we allow others to be. So I'm always willing to help authors, musicians, any artist that wants a helping hand. Bob's been on the show, Bob Dixon's been on my show.
But she won't let me come back, I'm not sure why.
Oh. There's
Maybe
always
I was training order, I don't know.
there's a comedic, 20,000 comedians out of work and he wants to be one.
You gotta go with this face, you know.
Oh, come on.
It's a face made for radio.
I will reserve comment on that.
You have all day tomorrow to come. Side by side.
I don't know, listen to that statement. This face was made for radio.
See, you got it.
Oh, Mom, you said something cute.
But your mom's prejudiced, Bob.
She doesn't like me either.
So, questions, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ma'am.
What was your most famous bounty hunter episode, or, I mean,
The one that made the biggest impression on the jumper?
well, maybe, yeah.
Okay. In Georgia, I was a bounty hunter. I had 2 partners that were both former Marines and both former New York cops. And they were built like, pardon the pun, brick shit houses. They were not much taller than me, but what they lacked in size, they made up in attitude. And we had this one gentleman that nobody could find, and we were running out of time. You only have 45 days to find someone who has not shown up for their first appearance, and then the bonding company has to come up with the total amount of the bond. Let's say this, I can't remember, I think he was out on a $50,000 bond. Well, he only paid $5,000. But if he doesn't show up for his first appearance, the bonding company has to pay the $50,000 to the courts. Well, they don't like doing that. It's like it was. So we were running out of time. And I'm calling all around in his jacket, calling these people and trying to find this guy. And first time I call, I'm pretty nice, you know. I'm Yvonne Mason and I am looking for this guy. Can you tell me where he is? Oh no, I haven't seen him. Okay. On down the list I go. And the second time I made the calls, oh no, we don't know where he is. Okay, no problem. Well, I found this phone number I hadn't seen before, and I called it, and this guy answered, and I said, do you know so-and-so? He said, oh yeah. He said, because of him, my wife and my son, my ex-wife and my son, are in the Henry County Jail. Now, this is in Georgia. I said, oh really? For what? He said, buying and selling drugs. I said, that's nice. He said, yeah, and every Tuesday he goes to the jail to visit my ex-wife. I said, really? Nice to know. Now this guy was out on bond and he's going to the jail to see his girlfriend, and so I called Henry County Jail and I said, will you look in your log and tell me if John Doe's been to see so-and-so? Why, yes. He comes every Tuesday at 2 o'clock. I said, do you realize that he is out on bond and he has not made his first appearance and we're fixing to go pick him up? Okay. So my 2 partners go down to Henry County Jail and they're sitting in the parking lot and they're watching the visitors' interest, and it's 1:45 and there's no jumper. It's 5 minutes till 2 and there's no jumper. And they call me. I said, oh, he'll be there. Trust me, I have it on good authority. He'll be there. Just wait. At 5 minutes after 2, this guy starts walking up the steps to go into the visitors' party. They get out, they get behind him, and they tap him on the shoulder, and they say, we know somebody that wants to see you. He goes, what? He said, yes. We're taking you back in. He never got to see the girlfriend again. He went back to jail. That was the most fun because we could not find him. I even offered to go down to Henry County and go in the area that I knew he was buying drugs and go undercover and buy drugs to find him. And my partners wouldn't let me. I said, why not? They said, you'll get hurt. I said, really? And only kill me once. You can only kill me once. But we found him and we took him in. Well, I had a 99% success rate. The only jumper I didn't get was a guy that had committed murder and had never been convicted or charged with it, but he was out on drug running charges and he had gone back to Queens. And I told my partners, I said, let's go get him. And they said, Yvonne, we're from New York and we won't even go into Queens. Cowards. But I would go back to hunting in a minute. In fact, if you need somebody found, call me. Oh my. But in Florida, I have to be a bail bondsman. I do not want to be a bail bondsman. I don't want that 3 o'clock phone call. Just call me and tell me to go pick them up. I can do that. So when someone tells you you cannot, you should not, do not, these are the risks, look at them and say, yes, I can. Because every time someone told my little brother, Stanley, you can't climb that tree, or Stanley, you can't ride that bike, he'd say, yeah, I can. It doesn't matter the disability. It doesn't matter the education. It doesn't matter anything but your attitude. If somebody tells you, you can't write that book, you don't know anything about that subject, what are you thinking? Look at them and go, but I've got the internet. I've got the library. I know people. This book. This is the book that's been on television 4 times. It is about Florida's first serial killer. My husband worked for the state attorney's office, and he's the one that told me the story. And here's the reason that I wrote this book. They told me I couldn't do it. They told me it would never be on television. Really? Look up Gerard Schaefer.
Yep.
You will see this book. This book, another true crime. This is about a gentleman who told everybody in his neighborhood he was going to kill his wife. This guy was a piece of work. He lived in Oregon, outside of Portland in Hermiston. I just came back from there, and it was a very poignant trip because I was not in Portland about this book. I was in Portland to take photographs for the Senate, but we went through the Columbia Gorge and the Columbia River, and this gentleman told everybody in God he was going to kill his wife. Nobody believed him. He shot her in the back of the head while she slept, and then he cut her up in 6 different pieces and dropped her in the Columbia River in 6 different places. He thought he'd gotten away with murder, but her body floated to the top. The way I got this book is her sister got me the research. They said I couldn't do it. This is just 2 of the 3 that I have written that are true crimes. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you cannot. You might not can do it today, but if you wait, I guarantee you, you will be able to do it tomorrow. Any questions? Oh, and if they tell you you can't write outside of your genre, what genre do you write? You write children's. Guess what? You can write horror if you want to. What genre do you write? Business. You can write children's books if you want to. If somebody says, oh, she writes children's books, there's no way she can write horror. Really? Why not? Well, because she writes children's books and her name is out there under the children's books names and it will disturb the children. Get over yourself.
Clive Barker does both.
There you go. So don't think you can never write outside your genre. I don't write romance because I don't believe in happily ever after. But it doesn't mean that I can't. I choose not to. But you can write anything you want to if you wait and open the doors. Questions, discussion? Tell me to sit down and shut up. Yes, ma'am.
When you were just talking about writing different genres, do you think that people should keep the same name through all that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Why would you want to hide your name?
I know some people have done that, and it's like,
And that's to their
I can't
detriment.
remember who you are.
Right.
They keep changing.
What happens when, and that's a very good question that she asked. If you change genres or you change age groups, would you change your pen name? I say no. And the reason I say no is because the world and the readers know you by that name. Why would you want to start building a following again and start over? You've got a base. Play on it. Build it up. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
It's a personal answer.
Hey, my life's an open book. If you want to, if you are bold enough to ask the question, be bold enough for the answer.
No problem.
Okay.
Would you say that your favorite work is published or not published? Or would you say that the favorite thing you've ever written is out there?
Yes. Up to this point. Because my favorite passion is true crime. And the reason for that is I write about the victims who are forgotten. I don't write about the Bundys of the world or the John Wayne Gacy's of the world because they've been written to death. I write about the Gerard Schaefers who, until my book came out, nobody even knew who Gerard Schaefer was. He killed between 9 and 35 females from 1966 to 1972, and everybody goes, who? But yeah, my favorite is out there. But they're all my favorites on different levels, but my favorite is true crime. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I want to get with you after this.
You got it.
Okay.
No worries. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Have you decided whether or not you're going to try writing a movie script on any of your books?
I have written a movie script.
All right, I'm going to have to pick your brain again.
Tangle Minds, which is, it's a fiction based on my oldest daughter's bad decisions. And she knew it was about her bad decisions when she read the book. She called me up, she said, Mom, this is about me, but I wasn't that bad. I said, pretty darn close.
That's a question. If you have an idea of somebody that you know and you want to write about that person, is there any right or wrong reason on how you can be, like you said, you did your daughter, how do you do writes like that?
I took, the backstory about my daughter is against my parental advice because she was 15 and smart as a whip and I was dumb as a bag of rocks. She started having children at 15. And I said, okay, these are your choices. You can have them, you can raise them. You can have them, you can give them to me. But adoption, abortion, and any other stupid decision you make after this stupid decision, you're not allowed to make. So when I wrote the book, I based it, and she went to have 5 kids after that too, and made even more stupid decisions. But I took her stupid decisions and turned it into a fictional book. So you can do it that way, or if you want to write a biography of a particular person, you have to get their permission in writing.
Okay.
So they can't come back and say, you wrote this and I didn't see it. Yeah, when you see this paper, you said. So be sure if you're going to do that, get their permission. Unless it is public record. Like my true crimes are all public record. Newspaper reports, interviews with law enforcement, interviews with judges, the case files, all that is public record. So that is free reign. But you do need, other than that, if you're going to do a biography, you do need to get their permission.
You have to do fiction You can get away with it?
If you do fiction, you can get away with it. Anybody else? I saw some hands back here. Yes, ma'am.
I've done some historical research things and found that like record finding and all that stuff can be extremely difficult. So I was wondering like what was the weirdest or strangest thing that you had to do in order to get the research for your true crime fictions?
I had to fight with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for 4 years and threaten them with a whole lot of stuff. And then I got my friend who's retired FDLE and I said, we're going down there and we're going to get the records and we're not leaving until we do. And he said, okay. But when I do historical fiction, I find everything I possibly can. I went to Andersonville Prison. How many of you know where Andersonville is or what Andersonville is? Andersonville Prison was the last prison camp that the Confederates built. It's in Andersonville, Georgia. And it was the worst prison camp. It was built in 1863 towards the end of the war at the end of the rail line. There were 3 women in that camp that were prisoners from the Union Army and that no one knew they were women until they died. And of course when people died in the prison camp they stripped them because the other starving prisoners needed tattered clothing. And they found out that they were indeed women. 2 of the women, they found out who they were, but the 3rd woman remained unknown. It took me 4 years, $10,000 in research books, and I wrote A Voice from the Grave. You have to wait and be tenacious. Do not accept that dreaded word that is only 2 letters. People don't tell me no. These people can attest, they don't tell me no. I go, what? You said what? I know you said yes. I did? Yes, see you did. That's how you get around that. Then you make them think it's their idea. You're right, I was going to do that anyway. See? Anything else? Anybody? I thought I saw some hands over here. Hand over here. Yes, ma'am.
It's not really a question, but a statement, but who cares anyway? I love your hat.
This is just one of many. Wait till tomorrow. There will be another one.
Yes.
Any more questions? All right, let me ask y'all this. Now watch this. How many of you would like to be on my radio show? Show of hands. See? Everybody. We're going to get it started. So before you leave, I have my notebook. Let's get your names, your numbers, your email addresses because we are starting the show back up. And Jennifer will tell you. It is not a scripted show, so don't send me an email and say, Yvonne, what are the questions you're going to ask me and how many are they? I'm going to say, excuse me? Have you lost your mind? We do not, that's why we call it off the chain. We do not do scripted answers and questions. And you know why? Because, guess what I did for a living? Guess what I find out? Guess what I will ask you? You won't know till you come on the show. Jennifer will tell you. She told me earlier, she said, Yvonne, I've been on a lot of shows. She says, but you totally shocked me. And then she laughed so hard she couldn't even answer the question.
That's normal for her.
No, this was, you've heard of dead air?
I didn't know if I could say the F word.
It's a word.
Somebody said it
It's
was
4
possible.
letters that begin with F, end with K. You put them together, it forms a word. It's a word.
Four.
Oh. It is, isn't it?
And we had 4, you see?
And I said it.
She did. And then she felt so good. Yes, sweetheart.
I was just wondering,
Yes,
do
ma'am.
you interview all authors? Because you said before you don't believe in romance.
Honey, if you're an author and you want to be on my show, I don't write romance. Doesn't mean I won't interview you. If I'll interview her and her dirty word book, I'll interview her.
It wasn't just one though, right? There's 6.
Because you will not, because we call it off the chain, we can start in one direction with the conversation, and by the time the hour's up, you're going, what happened to this hour? I wasn't through. Can I come back? Of course you can. And we,
I have to wait.
yeah, and the conversations go all kinds of strange directions. Right?
I can see that just like.
Oh, yes. I've been there, done that.
And will again.
Begging to again.
All right, I think I have used my time up, so any more quick questions before I depart the premises? Okay.
If Dash will be here tomorrow, you can track her down.
Yes, I will be here all weekend.
Yes.
You will get to see a new hat tomorrow.